I think that fundamentally changes the relationship between representatives and citizens, right, and that community member. And so I think that the trust is built. The trust is not automatically extended or gained, but you need to build trust with communities, and that comes with dialogue, that comes with building relationships, and that's the work that we're committed to doing across this campaign. And so my hope is that, the work that we're doing across the 7 counties in my district, these are 7 counties that have been largely overlooked for years. Our district is half rural. And so I've talked to farmers in the rural part of our district that have literally said, no Democrat has knocked on my door in 10 years. Not no congressional Democrat, like no Democrat at any level. Can you imagine that? And so it's no wonder that, one, these districts or these areas have these bright red spots on the map. They're only talking to Republicans. That's number one. But number two, how are we going to assume that people are going to believe in us, trust us, and extend any level of faith that we will have their best interests in mind if we can't even knock on their door and have a conversation? And so I think that we have a real opportunity here in 2018 to reconnect in segments of our community that have just been overlooked or that we have made some probably incorrect assumptions, and restore that trust in government and in representation.
Can you expand a little bit on what the 14th district looks like? One of the things I really like doing on this podcast is sort of helping listeners all over the country understand what different parts of the country look like and what they feel like. So what do the demographics look like in the 14th district, and sort of exactly where does it stretch? Sure.
So the Illinois 14th is 7 counties in the western suburbs of Chicago. So I live in a community called Naperville. It's sort of a super suburb now. It's 45 minutes west of the city of Chicago. We're in a county called Will County, which is some parts rural, but mostly suburban in the 14th district. This is probably one of our more diverse areas of the district. Then we have a county called Kendall County, which has Yorkville and Oswego. These are very traditionally rural communities, but Oswego is actually one of the top 10 fastest growing communities in the state of Illinois. So think subdivisions and cul-de-sacs right next to cornfields. So that's what Kendall County looks like, at least in that part of Kendall County. Then there's a lot of real small towns, like towns 800 people or less. Then we have Northern Illinois University, which is a large public institution in our state. That's our western border in a community called DeKalb. And so there's a lot of students and faculty that live in that part of the district that go to school or work on campus. But the rest of DeKalb is very rural. So in the 14th district, we grow corn and soy products. So we have a pretty vibrant agriculture sector, and our family farmers are really important in both rural DeKalb County and rural Kane County. So Kane County is, you might be familiar with towns like Aurora, Geneva, Batavia, St. Charles, Elgin. We have parts of each of those communities in our district. Those are going to be more traditional suburban environments. And let's see, we have DuPage County, Warrenville, and West Chicago. And there's a big push this year to turn DuPage blue. And so I'm really excited about the activity that's happening in that part of our district. To the north, we have McHenry County, which shares the Wisconsin border. So on the other side in Wisconsin is Paul Ryan's district, the Wisconsin First. And so McHenry County is traditionally pretty rural, a lot of green space, beautiful farmlands and lakes. And then we have Lake County, which is where Six Flags is. So Six Flags Great America, Gurney Mills Mall, and then north of the Wisconsin border. So 7 counties with some pretty real diversity in terms of suburban-rural mix. The district is 85% white, 2.9% black, and the rest is split between Asian and Latino. And in the 14th district, the Asian demographics are mostly Indian and Pakistani. This is a highly college-educated district with an average family income of $105,000 a year.
That's great. And it's a real diverse mix, I think, for the people who are representing Chicago and districts that are completely within Chicago, the kinds of issues that they're dealing with, although there's a mix of people in the city, they can sort of focus on urban issues. But to represent the 14th, that sounds like you're going to have to really be thinking about a huge range of different kinds of issues that people will be facing and different kinds of jobs that they'll be holding.
Yeah, the economic impact on a district like ours is really interesting. On the northern part of our district along the Wisconsin border, a lot of folks are living in Illinois but work in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin has a better economy as a state than we do here in Illinois. So there's some unique issues in the northern part of the district. In our rural economy, because we grow corn and soy products, both climate change ends up being a significant economic issue in our region because of these extreme weather events. The farmers aren't able to make their yields, which has a real impact on the bottom line. And then more recently, we've seen Trump's actions regarding these proposed tariffs and China's actions in response to impose a tariff on soybean exports, which is very damaging to our ability to remain a leading both grower and exporter of soybean products. The state of Illinois is across the country and across the world. And so there's a real significant economic impact there. And then for the suburban communities in our district, so many folks are working. We don't have super high unemployment, but most of those jobs are located in and around the city of Chicago. And so what's a high priority for me is making sure that we can have a vibrant economy within our 14th district and that we're creating good jobs that continue to make this area an attractive place to live. And so that's why I get excited about proposals like infrastructure. The infrastructure plans, the way that it should be done, would put folks to work locally and hire at all levels of the income scale, from the hourly worker to the union laborer to the engineer, the architect, to the executive, right? That there would be opportunities within the 14th district. And I think that we are really overdue for an infrastructure package. And I hope that, after we do win in November and get sworn in early 2019, that we have an opportunity to pass that kind of job-creating infrastructure package.
All right, fantastic. Is there anything else that you'd like to have our listeners think about?
Yes, I hope everyone, regardless of where you live, are making a plan right now for how you're going to engage in this 2018 election. If you are within the state of Illinois or within the Midwest, we could certainly use your help in the Illinois 14th District. You can sign up to volunteer with us online at Underwood, UNDERWOOD, Congress.com. And we have a volunteer page, and we'll follow right up with you, get you trained, and talk about the ways that you can have impact in our district. This is a flippable seat. And, the Democrats are talking about they need 23 seats to reclaim the majority. We have 5 great opportunities for those pickup seats here in Illinois. And so I'm really excited to work with your listeners in order to accomplish that goal. If folks want to give, they can also do that on our website too. And reach out online, follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Would love to see what they're up to along the way of helping us with support. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And we'll put those links up on our website as well. And maybe I'll bring my kids out to the 14th and help you out as well.
Please come. We love when the kids come out. Love it.
The Cult of Domesticity is a weekly podcast created by 2 best friends who share a love of history,
true crime,
literature,
somewhat current events,
and everything else in between.
Join us every Thursday as we cover things that interest us and hopefully you too.
You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and most other podcast listening apps.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and we cannot wait to hear from you.
Bye!
Bye!
In this segment, we are here with Sara Dady, who is running for Congress from the Illinois 16th District. Hi, Sara.
Hi, Kelly. Hi, Sophie. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And this is a rare treat for us so far to be able to talk to someone who has already won their primary. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And we are recording on Mother's Day, so I want to say Happy Mother's Day to you as a mother, but I know this is probably also a somewhat difficult day for you because you lost your mother. So could you talk a little bit about kind of the reasons you're running for Congress and how your personal life story plays into that?
Sure, I'd be glad to. And Happy Mother's Day to you and all of the mothers in the world, and whether they're biological, adoptive, or community chosen. I lost my mom more than 13 years ago because her doctor told her she needed an MRI because we have a family history of aneurysms. So she called a hospital in Rockford and asked how much it would cost. They told her they didn't know, but it would be in the thousands of dollars because she was uninsured. And my mom gave up. She never got the MRI, and she died of an aneurysm after that. So this is a completely diagnosable, preventative illness, and simply because she was uninsured, I lost my mom. And I believe in the United States of America, no one should ever lose a loved one because they're uninsured. Now, not just as a mother or a daughter, but as an employer, I don't see the United States making any progress towards universal health care, and the situation's getting worse. My representative, who's been the representative in my district for over 5 years, almost 6 years, he has consistently voted to repeal the ACA and deprive people that live in this district, working people, from access to medical care. And that's unacceptable.
So I'm so sorry to hear about your mother, and that's such a sad story in this country that could happen.
Well, absolutely. It's unacceptable. We're a first world nation. We're the only first world nation without universal health care. And not only is it a moral issue and a family issue, it's also an economic issue.
So you mentioned as an employer, can you tell us about the kind of work that you have been doing?
Sure. I'm an immigration attorney. When I moved back home to Rockford in 2006, after my mom passed, I started my law practice out of the living room of my house. And over a decade later, I've got the largest immigration law firm west of Chicagoland in downtown Rockford, Illinois. We have 13 employees, and I've got the greatest job in the world. I get to welcome people to the country that I love best.
So immigration law seems like something that would be tricky right now. There have been a lot of changes happening and a lot of executive orders that come suddenly and don't necessarily make a lot of sense. Can you talk about the way that is affecting your clients?
You know, immigration law has always been tricky. The federal courts say the U.S. immigration laws are second only to the U.S. tax code in its complexity. And I think that's true. It's been very frustrating over the decades with immigration law. We really have a patchwork, exceptions to exceptions to exceptions. The whole system doesn't function the way that we need it to, not just for family who get married abroad and want to bring their spouse to live with them in the United States, but even when it comes to labor demands in this country. We have 11 million undocumented people in this country because when our economy demanded that they come in the 1990s, we didn't give them a lawful way to come. So on the one hand, we really pulled them into the United States. They were able to get jobs, not legally, but people hired them. They were able to fall in love, get married, have kids, buy a home, start businesses, but never given a way to apply for lawful status. Now, when President Obama was elected, we were all very hopeful that he would push for comprehensive immigration reform. There's broad consensus for it across Republicans and Democrats, liberals, conservatives. And instead, he ended up deporting more people, over 2 million people in his first 2 years, than George W. Bush did in 8. And it had a huge impact on our immigrant communities. You know, to see families torn apart like that, it was awful. Now, in his second term, President Obama listened to his conscience and the voices of activists across the country, and he stopped the deportation machine that he had started in his first term. He created DACA, which was great, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, that allowed certain young people to get a work permit and basically a temporary reprieve from deportation. Unfortunately, after President Trump got elected, the very first thing that he did was to restart the deportation machine, that infrastructure that was created under President Obama. And then he passed a travel ban. And I was one of the first immigration attorneys to pull duty at O'Hare Airport last year in the wake of the travel ban. For me, the United States, we broke our word. I had a client denied boarding a plane to return home to the United States, and he had a green card. He'd done everything right. And now my country isn't going to let him back in. You know, it was unconscionable to me. This is not the country that I know. We're supposed to be moving forward, not backward. So, yeah, as an immigration attorney, I've